What's up, everybody? Welcome in late Saturday night. Late Saturday night. We're talking Ole Miss. We're talking Auburn. 28-21 was the final but if we're being honest, for all intents and purposes, Ole Miss won by 14 points. That's not the final score says, but that is what happened. Auburn gets a garbage time touchdown, cannot get the onside kick, and the game ends Ole Miss 28, Auburn 21. We're here to talk about it. A lot of angles here, obviously, in this game, as you can imagine, with all the drama and the storylines around Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze and all that stuff. And we got some vintage Hugh Freeze with that wide receiver, well, not wide receiver, the third-string quarterback double pass that you could literally hear Ole Miss's players on the television broadcast pointing that out, and they still ran it, and it didn't work. Some vintage Hugh Freeze there. But a fascinating game, and frankly, a sloppy as hell game for Ole Miss early. And so I think we should start there, actually. But first, I want to tell you that if you're new here, my name is Michael Borky. We do live streams a few times a week. I'm part of a radio show called Sports Talk Mississippi, and that is every day during the week, and also doing some post-game shows and stuff like that. This will also get uploaded into the Rebel Report podcast feed, so if you don't subscribe, you should, and this will be there. There's a lot to talk about, but please, if you like anything that you hear, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell as well so you know when I go live. Comments will be read, as many as possible. I'm not going to go too terribly long, but I will go for as long as we've got some good energy here in the chat. So post-game, Ole Miss 28, Auburn 21. But I think we should start with this, though. The defense. It's not exactly difficult. If we're being totally honest, it's not exactly hard to dominate this Auburn offense. Like we talked about all week leading up to this game, really, both on the radio show and here with you guys, is people were very much overvaluing Hugh Freeze, the coach, going into this game. Now, look, I think he's going to win at Auburn. I think he's good. I certainly think he's good. I don't think he is this miracle worker that a lot of people were afraid that he was going to be going into this game. I said that to you guys many, many times, and it bears repeating. He never was going to be able to take this personnel and make it into something that is scary, really, in any way. And I kept trying to say that this week, and the fears were justified. It was a tie game right up until the end of the third quarter. So it was a close football game, but Auburn's offense has not been good at any point this season, should not, and does not scare you at all. That being said, though, Ole Miss defensively was really good today. They're the reason why they won the game, absent two pretty clutch drives from Ole Miss's offense at the very end of the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, the next drive in the fourth quarter as well, which was the point difference in the game anyway. And again, I know Auburn had 21 points on the board, but one of them was a garbage time touchdown where Ole Miss was in prevent. 275 total yards for Auburn, only 122 through the air, 153 on the ground. And it was worse than that. Ole Miss was more dominant than that. Gave up some points and yards late when the game was very much in control. They went on the road, and this defense, for all of its flaws, was dominant against this Auburn offense. On the flip side, before we get into the comments, two things. It is a mark of a good team, and it's a mark of a good quarterback to play their best when it matters most. And so if you're looking for positive spin, that is 3 SEC West games in a row for Ole Miss where they have played their best football late in the game, where they won the second half. They won the fourth quarter. They did it with LSU. They did it with Arkansas. And now they've done it with Auburn on the road. Ole Miss started out this game really poor. Penalties all over the place. Sloppy play. Bad interception. A muffed punt, even though they recovered it, but that really set them back in field position. All of that, penalties. I mean, Ole Miss just played like absolute garbage, frankly, in the first half of this game. It should not have been as close as it was, really, at any point. They kept Auburn. They did everything they could to keep Auburn in that game, and yet overcame that on the road, hostile environment, and played their best ball when it mattered most. Now, that's a positive spin. That's a good thing, and it's absolutely a good thing they're playing their best football late in games. Again, their best football was playing the fourth quarter when they beat LSU. Their best football was playing the fourth quarter when they beat Arkansas, And their best football was played in the last drive of the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter before garbage time happened. They played their best ball late. That's good. That speaks to a lot of things. It speaks to coaching. It speaks to quarterback and who he is, overcoming playing really, really poorly to be extremely clutch on those two vital drives to seal the game for that team. Jaxson Dart was really bad for a while today until he wasn't. And that's a mark of a good quarterback, mentally strong, is Jaxson Dart for sure. So that's a positive spin as they play their best ball late. However, the fact that they came out of the gate and played so poorly is a concern. I mean, they did it on the road at Tulane as well, for whatever that may be worth to you. Didn't play well there. Didn't play well in the first half in this game at all. Again, penalties, miscues. Offensive line wasn't particularly good in protection a lot either, but you had the bad interception, a ball thrown behind Zachary Franklin. You had the dropped snap on the field goal. You had penalty after penalty. And that rough start, I mean, you're not beating Georgia playing like that in the first half. I mean, you're going to get blown. You're going to walk into the locker room down a few touchdowns if you start the Georgia game in that way. So, they overcame it, which is important. But that first half was really rough. It was they played about as poorly as they possibly could have played. They did overcome it and win the game. Judkins was really good tonight. He had 124 on 21 carries. That's 6 per carry. That is a good Auburn defense, a good Auburn defensive front that he was able to do that against. Again, Jaxson Dart, just over 200 yards, had a pair of rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, and an interception. He was 10 of 17. Again, he was not particularly good tonight, and then those 2 drives happened where he was absolutely clutch and sealed the game for his team. So there's a lot to talk about. I know there was some therapy involved for Ole Miss fans watching a Hugh Freeze team struggle so poorly offensively and then him make a really bad decision. He kind of has Ole Miss on their heels a little bit, then makes a really poor decision with that weird double pass with his third string quarterback. And so I'm sure there's some therapy involved going on in the chat right now. But I'll talk with you guys for as long as the energy stays up, and let's get to it. Pete Golding's defense looking good. They were very good tonight. I think people have been overly critical of that side of the ball considering some of their issues personnel-wise. They were really, really good tonight. Really, really good tonight. Did I misspell something? Is that an issue? Did I screw something up somewhere? Are you correcting me? Let's see. No, okay, I'm good. Okay, sorry. I'm good. Let's go Rebs. Jesse Palmer sucks. He doesn't bother me. I understand why he was bothering some people. Truly, I do. He didn't bother me much. You very rarely can get announcers to truly bug me. And so, he's okay, but I get it. It was a crazy game. Greg says big win for the Rebs. Jordan Hare is a tough place to play. It absolutely is. And I would love to know what Kiffin, and I'm sure he's actually talking to the media right now post-game. So this will be more for a conversation on Tuesday. Or maybe we'll do another one of these tomorrow night because why the hell not? But that will be a conversation for tomorrow night is what he attributes their struggles to. Was it atmosphere? Was it just internal errors or what he attributes that to? I don't know. But they definitely played like the environment was impacting them early, for sure. Ole Miss's defensive philosophy is mind-boggling on 3rd and 4th downs, especially long yardage to go. It is so frustrating to watch. I can't imagine, in y'all's shoes, especially with a couple of drinks in, you watching 3rd and 8 with Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford at quarterback, and you're still playing this Zoff zone and letting them complete passes underneath. I don't understand it. I simply don't get it. I'm sure there's a rational explanation that my dumb brain can't figure out, but I don't understand at all why Ole Miss is so conservative on 3rd and long, and it bites them so often. That play calling on a few of those drives, geez, how many times can you run into the A gap? Yeah, there's a few lulls in there as well, and I found it interesting that there was a long period of time that they didn't force feed the football to Trey Harris, and then on those 2 drives where they scored touchdowns in the second half, who did Jaxson Dart throw to? It was Trey Harris. And it's like, why aren't you force feeding that guy the football when you're kind of bogging down offensively? But they ended up finding him, and it worked out. It did work out. Sokolov is never going to live that tweet down. No, I do not think that he will. I will say, though, I have met John. I've been around John, and he is an incredibly pleasant and nice guy. And he knows, he knows what went wrong there. And I'm very certain he won't make that mistake again. But for whatever it's worth, very nice guy, very pleasant guy. He does work hard. He made a mistake. I've done it myself. But anyway. Del says hotty toddy, and we kicked that butt. Yeah, in the second half, Ole Miss was always the better team. Even at halftime, I had a guy tweet at me, and he was right when I said that Ole Miss was fortunate to be in the situation that they were in. He said, frankly, Auburn's fortunate to be in the position that they're in because Ole Miss is just better than them, and he was right. So both things, I guess, can be true at the same time. But the second half, Ole Miss flexed their muscle and showed that they were the better football team. Knew it would be tough and honestly didn't think that Ole Miss would pull it off starting the second half. For some reason, I never had a thought in my head that Ole Miss was not going to win. At no point did I think that they were going to lose. I don't know why. At no point did I think that they were going to lose. Even when Auburn tried the double pass with a third-string quarterback on that possession, I still didn't think that they were going to lose. They were the better team. Once they calmed down, they flexed that muscle and showed that tonight. At this point, 10-2 should be expected. You can live and be happy about 9-3, but any way you can possibly slice 8-4 would be a complete meltdown. There is no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. They will be favored in every game but Georgia. So if it goes to chalk, they will go 10-2. Yes, you can be satisfied with 9-3, but if they find a way to lose 3 more games this season, it will be a meltdown. Absolutely. It will be a meltdown. And this team has passed emotional tests a lot this season. I mean, they were down in New Orleans, and then Trey Harris gets hurt, and then they got beat by Alabama, and it was a week where they caught a lot of crap after that game, and it was justified. And then they're down 2 scores, facing a 3rd and long with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter against LSU, and they win that game. And then they're down in the 4th against Arkansas, and they win that game. And then they're tied late into the 3rd quarter on the Plains, and the crowd is nuts, and they're playing poorly, and there's penalties, and there's mistakes, and they find a way to win that game. So they have proven that they are mentally tougher than last year's team was, but still, you got to play the games. And yes, any way you slice it, 8-4 would be a meltdown. Absolutely. It would. Is that enough to move into the top 10 with 2 of the other top 10 teams going down? Let's see. So they were 13 going into this game. North Carolina lost. They will jump North Carolina. I think that they should jump Penn State as well. I don't know if the voters are going to do that. I watched Penn State play today. I know what they have on offense, and it's really, really bad, but I don't think they're going to get punished to drop below Ole Miss for losing in Columbus, and I certainly understand that. That's a justified position for sure. So I don't know if they're going to jump Penn State. It's possible, and it's certainly possible. I don't know if that's going to happen though. Let's see. Texas won. They shouldn't have. They will jump North Carolina. There's a chance, but I don't think they're creeping into the top 10 because that would require them jumping Oregon. That would require them jumping Alabama. And, they have a loss to Alabama, and they're not going to jump ahead of Oregon. So I suspect they will be 11 when the poll comes out. Audio is going out. Oh, shoot. Operator error. Okay, good. Glad to hear it. That game wouldn't have been nearly as close at home. Eliminating a lot of the miscommunication would have put a lot of points on the board early. And honestly, if Jaxson Dart doesn't throw that interception, and ifs and buts and candy and nuts and Merry Christmas and all that stuff, but if Jaxson Dart puts that ball on the money on that drive because it was returned deep and then Auburn scored after that, if he just puts that ball on the money, I mean, who knows what that game ends up becoming? I mean, possibly even a blowout in that spot. Now, it happened. But still, I mean, Ole Miss had a lot of chances to put them away, and they chose they chose not to, and it ended up working. But Jason says, as a state guy, I hate you all. I'm going to cry now. Hey, Jason, you won today. You won today. And yes, it was an ugly football game, but it doesn't matter because it's a win, and you just get to breathe. It's a win. Enjoy it. Can Ole Miss put number 57 on the bench or put Cass on his hands? He holds more than any. Yeah, it's bad. Bravo on the postgame show title. Yeah, I thought somebody would pick that up. Tucker, I'm so glad to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing really well, buddy. I'm glad to see your name pop up, my friend. Only one state question. Do I think or have I heard any indication that Arnett increased his role calling the defense or making a specific game plan that looked like his defense today? That's something that should have happened. So no, I have not seen any behind. They did look different, though. And I know Arkansas's offense is bad, but what I'm going to say tomorrow when I talk to you guys again, and then on Monday's radio show is that's an Arkansas team that was able to at least score some against LSU and Alabama and Ole Miss, and State dominated them. And that's not just an Arkansas's bad thing. And I think that's an unfair characterization of what happened today. So if that's the case, that's a good thing. I think Arnett needs to stop trying to be involved in everything and be involved in what you're good at, and then make good hires for your offense and let them do their thing. Prescore needs to be getting more attention in the passing game. I agree. He's sure-handed, tough to bring down. Tulane would smoke Auburn. If they played New Orleans, they would. Dart is such a clutch player. He makes plays in big second-half moments this season. Props. Absolutely. I mean, that's the mark of a really, an improved player, because Jaxson Dart last year wouldn't have been able to do that. But that's all mental. That's upstairs. He's tough as hell. And I don't just mean physically. When I say he's tough, I don't mean he's physically tough, which he is. He's mentally tough. To play as poorly as he did and throw a bad interception and wasn't getting enough protection and things weren't going well, and it's on the road, and then he was clutch on multiple throws on a 90-yard touchdown drive to take the lead right before the half, and then a 68-yard touchdown drive where he delivered a beautiful football after escaping, a 2nd and 16, I think is what it was, and running for a first down, and then throwing a beautiful pass and putting the game away in that spot. That's all mental. That is upstairs toughness for Jaxson Dart, and he was great. He was great when he needed to be after a rough start. Special teams needs more practice. Something has to happen there. Punting's awful. It's awful, and I don't know what you can do there, though. I mean, you got what you have at this point, but it's not good enough there. And Watkins trying to catch punts with his hand. I mean, speaking of toughness, you saw how wrapped up that was. But anyway, this was one of those survive and advance games. Absolutely, yeah. And we're good in the second half. And I know it's only a 7-point final score, but it's not, and everybody knows it. They controlled the back half of that game. Paul, a resident Arkansas fan, says, on to basketball season where we have a realistic chance at a natty. Go Hogs. You're going to have a fun basketball season for sure. Enjoy that. Baseball, too. You were so nervous that he was going to go for 2 on that last touchdown to try to screw up the spread. That would have been funny, wouldn't it have? What do I think about the interception and the touchback? I think that call standing was the right call. It looked like he had control of the ball. If they had called it incomplete on the field, that call probably would have stood as well. So the replay decision, I think, was the right one. Is it rotation or just good strength and conditioning that's keeping us in these games late? It's satisfying to see them not folding at the half. And very counter, remember, to what this team was a year ago. I think it speaks to everything. Frankly, I do think that the strength and conditioning piece is something that hasn't really been talked about enough, because they are more physical. They play better than their opponents late in games. They do rotate a lot on defense. That helps. But it speaks to coaching and it speaks to team leadership and quarterback. They have a steady, mentally tough quarterback that has not let whatever has happened up until that point impact him, and that has helped. They are calling much better second halves offensively from the play caller perspective. And yeah, it looks like they're more physical late in games, and that speaks to SNC. So I think it's kind of an all of the above situation. It can't just be one thing. It can't just be one thing. Could have put the game away before halftime. They could have. And they didn't. What's up, Borky? Thanks for reading my tweets. Yeah, man, you were spot on though. You were absolutely right. I framed it I framed it negatively from the Ole Miss side, and you were right though. Auburn was very fortunate to have that game close. It should have been 21-7, or even worse at the half. And anyway, Ole Miss is using the tweet in their post-game troll video. I got to see this. Because I remember they got in trouble. They got in trouble when they mocked you after the Liberty game. So let's see. I got to find it. Oh, wait, I'm searching my own tweets. That's not what I want to do. Let's see. I'm going to watch this live on video. I hope you guys don't mind. Oh, gosh. Auburn football really tweeted this picture with the caption Coach Freeze in a fan. Oh, no. That's bad. You guys. Okay, I found the video. It's getting chilly on the plains. Is that what you're talking about? Oh no, they did. Oh, they used the sock off. Oh, and they got Brian Kelly. Oh, that's funny. Okay, this is good. That's funny. That's funny. Ole Miss keeps playing with its food. Yeah, and man, but the thing is, in the SEC West, especially on the road, again, this is what I'm going to say about Mississippi State tomorrow when we talk about it, and Monday on the radio show. If you're winning in the West on the road, then that is the most important thing 10 times over. I mean, you wonder about a lot of things, right? You wonder why Ole Miss was so sloppy early. That's a problem. But man, you're not going to get perfection every week. You're not, and so you just got to take it. You just got to take it and be happy with it. Defense did what was necessary. Offense will put it together eventually. Special teams is quite frankly scary. Yes, it's bad. Just found out how to turn store-bought cinnamon rolls into Cinnabon rolls, and Ole Miss won. Great night. Are you high? What are you doing? That's another thing. Alabama's much better than they played so far. They've looked downright scary in the second half today. Yeah, they've been great in the second half all season. They never go away, even when they aren't the usual Alabama. They're always right there. I hear you. Hudson Wolf was dressed today, and you think played on special teams. Yeah, it's good to see him back. But hey, we'll do all this other stuff tomorrow. By the way, we're just talking Ole Miss Auburn here for what it's worth. Is Pegues playing hurt? He seemed to go down every game, or is that he plays about every snap? Well, some of it possibly could be some gamesmanship. Let's put it that way. Would love to see them bring Perkins in on third and medium plays on offense to try to convert more third downs. Centarian Perkins? The linebacker? I don't know if that's going to solve their third down issues, but hey, I mean, he played linebacker in high school. No, excuse me. He played running back in high school and everything. Just got out of Jordan-Hare. Hell of a second half by Ole Miss. Once again, they rise up and play well. Game was weird, but they fought through it and got a huge win. Also, Hugh Freeze can eat it. I'm telling you, that was therapy for a lot of people tonight. That was therapy for a lot of people. Ole Miss is 6-1, already playing Alabama, Auburn, LSU, and Arkansas. Yep, and it's Vanderbilt, and that game could be a slog on Saturday night. Wouldn't surprise me at all if it is. would not surprise me at all. A&M, who is possibly going to be reeling at that point, but you get them at home. I mean, it's still a free shot in Athens. I won't look at it any other way. I know that Georgia certainly is not perfect at all, or not anywhere close to it, but they still have the roster. That's the thing. They still have that roster, and it's a free shot. That's all it's going to be. And if you lose it, Access Bowl is still on the table. Your second 10-win season in the history of the program is absolutely still on the table, and it would happen in 2 of the last 3 years. That would be the floor elevating on a program if you can close the season the way you can. Absolutely. How old is Jackson's brother? You're right. Looks just like him. Like, it's weird. It's almost like Jaxson was in the stands as well. Glad to see Dart stayed poised throughout the entire game. That is the improvement that he's made from last year to this year for sure. Is that right there? It was staying within the game, not letting. It's important, right? Because he made a mistake, and it wasn't the decision wasn't bad. That wasn't a mistake. The throw was bad. So decision making on the interception, perfect. I mean, the guy was open. He threw a bad pass, so execution wasn't good. Decision was totally fine, but he didn't let that compound into another mistake. And he didn't let the frustrations of the way his team played and the way they didn't protect very much in the first half lead to a poor decision later on in the game. That's the important thing that you saw tonight. That's the growth of a player. You're not going to throw for 450 every night. You're not going to throw for 350 every night. It's what you do when it matters. And when adversity hits, how do you handle that? And when adversity has hit him for 3 weeks in a row, he's handled it very, very well. That's important. His name is Jaxson Dart, something like that. You asked about Dart's eligibility on Twitter. So how much does Ole Miss bring back next year? That's looking very interesting if they continue to improve. So Dart absolutely would have, I think he would have 2 years of eligibility remaining, right? Because he played 2 years ago played 2 years ago as a true freshman last year. So this is year 3 in college, and he wouldn't get the COVID year. So yes, he has another year of eligibility. Just one, though. Just one. Yeah, and this team returns a ton next year. Now, Trey Harris is going to be gone, and he's vital. But this team will return a whole lot. So, yeah, 2024 was kind of the year that people were pointing to for this team to be really good. And here they are with the chance at winning 10 games again. 10-2 and a New Year's 6 berth is on the table for real now. Absolutely. They'll be a favorite in every game but Georgia. You expect, barring injury, Ole Miss to win an ugly 31-17 type game at Davis Wade. Go ahead and take Vandy in the points next week. Yeah, I really I really think that game's going to be miserable. If you guys were miserable tonight, you might be miserable next week too. Coming off of an emotional road win, knowing that it's Vanderbilt and then A&M is a week later, there's a chance that game can really just kind of be, for lack of a better phrase, shitty. That could be a really ugly football game next week. So you thought Harris could come back, but Franklin can't. Harris isn't coming back. I mean, that guy's going to go play in the NFL next year. There's no reason for him to stay in college again. I mean, he's an NFL player for sure. And so I think he's just not sticking around regardless of his eligibility situation. I don't know what it is. The COVID year has just really screwed things up. But no, he's gone regardless. He's an NFL player. He's going to go and make a lot of money and just be that next Ole Miss receiver that has an NFL impact. He's great. Just tuned in, have to throw the ball, bunch of BS offensive calls. I think that they need to force feed the ball to Harris more. That I said this earlier, but that slog that they hit in the middle of the game, they've got to spend more time forcing the ball to Trey Harris, I think. Could the prevent defense on third down and long be a result of Golding not trusting his secondary? I don't know, but tonight, I mean, were you really going to get beat by? I mean, Auburn didn't have receivers that you're scared of, and they don't have quarterbacks that you're scared of. Why on earth would you play soft zone with that? But heard Joe Tess was a little bummed out when Auburn fell behind. I think so. So here's what happens. I don't think Joe Tessitore was rooting for Auburn. I do hear what people were feeling, though, with him calling the game. I think that guys in his position want chaos because it's more fun to call, As an announcer, getting to call a crazy game with a big upset in a field storming or whatever is more fun. So maybe it's just like subconscious where once the game kind of felt like it was decided, he was like, oh, well, shit, this one's over, as opposed to, dang it, Ole Miss is winning. I think that's kind of where that comes from. Auburn had 45 passing yards until the final drive. Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, Auburn's offense is terrible. Hugh Freeze is not a miracle worker. You can't make these two quarterbacks be great. You can't make this group of wide receivers dominant, but credit belongs to Ole Miss as well for playing well on the road and keeping their team in it, especially after giving up. They gave up a touchdown after an interception return deep in their own territory, and then another touchdown was just a busted play, But anyway, you say you got to run. I do as well. So just glad you guys were here. Appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We will be live again tomorrow for like the more weekend recap. We'll loop State in. We'll talk about Ohio State, Penn State, and Alabama, Tennessee, and all the other goings on in college football this weekend. So we'll be back 8 o'clock tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. I'll see you then. So looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Appreciate you hanging out. I know it's late. And Ole Miss wins 28-21. See you guys tomorrow.